Hey guys, this is Russ from TakeLessons.com, and today we're going to be talking about basic applications of funk to the drum set. This is a good lesson for any ability because it's all based around a really simple rock beat. If you can play this beat, then you can be a funk drummer. So first we're going to talk about syncopation and how it relates to the hi-hat. Now, in a regular 4/4 rock beat, there are 4 quarter notes in each measure. Now, each of those quarter notes can be changed into a pattern that's a little more interesting and syncopated. What syncopation is basically adding offbeats and notes that you might not usually hear in a rock context. So, the first rhythm that we're going to add to our beat is 2 16th notes followed by 1 8th note, which is going to sound like this. Now, you can either play this straight through, or you can incorporate it into a simpler beat. So let's just play a simple beat and incorporate that little figure of 2 16th notes and an 8th note. It would look like this. Now you can also apply that figure to a beat specifically. Let's just apply that to beat 1. Now let's just apply it to beat 2. Now let's just apply it to beat 3. Now let's just apply it to beat 4. Now there's other good ways to embellish it. In this pattern, you can open the hi-hat on the 8th note to get a really cool sound. Now you can do that every beat to get sort of a disco feel. That'll look something like this. But you don't have to apply it to every beat, and it often sounds better if you just throw it in occasionally. Especially if you're starting a new section, whether it be a chorus, verse, or solo, it's a good way to change the texture up in the song. So here's an example of playing the regular beat and then going into that embellishment. Now this beat can also be applied to the ride cymbal for an even different texture. So for this one, the 16th notes are going to be on the regular part of the cymbal, and the 8th note is going to be on the bell. So that's going to look like this. Now you can break this up in a lot of different ways. You can specifically do it on the same beat, beat 1, 2, 3, or 4 each time, or when you're changing sections, you can do it all the time. And then you can also just randomize it if you want. So let's say that I'm playing with a soloist, say there's a guitar solo going on, and it's building slowly. As the intensity rises, I might change over to doing more of that rhythm, or embellishing with that rhythm more than just playing the straight eighths. So here's just playing the straight eighths and then slowly going into that rhythm until I'm doing that rhythm all the time. Doing that will look something like this. Okay, now let's talk about another type of rhythm. This rhythm is going to be the opposite of the one we just did. instead of 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note, this is going to be an 8th note followed by 2 16th notes. So it's going to sound something like this. Just as we did with the other beat, this can either be used to start a new section, it can be used randomly, or it can be used on a specific beat. Right now, let's check it out if we just sort of throw it randomly into the regular beat that we had originally. Now with this, you can also embellish it by opening up the hi-hat. Since the 8th note is on the downbeat, the open hi-hat is going to be on the downbeat as well. So that's going to look something like this. And the same thing can be applied to the ride cymbal. Now the next thing we're going to look at is the snare drum. Now the snare drum is responsible for keeping the whole momentum of the band going. 2 and 4, it's most likely going to be played with a rim shot. If you're thinking dynamically, the snare drum should be the loudest thing on the kit. It should pretty much dominate all the other sounds because the snare drum is really pushing the band forward, and everyone's listening to that as an indicator of the time. So the snare drum is really the metronome in a lot of ways. But the snare drum can also be embellished as well with syncopation. And one of my favorite things to use is the E and of 1. So you lay out on 1 and then the E and you play. So 1 E and, 1 E and, 1 E and, 1 E and. And with those you're using ghost notes. So what ghost notes are much quieter notes that aren't rim shots that you play with the tip of the stick in the center of the head at a much quieter volume. So let's try that. 1 E and, 1 E and, 1 E and, 1 E and. And here's how it looks with a beat. Another one that I really like to do is ghosting on the of 2 in the of 4. So you play 2, the E and are off, and then the you play. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to look like this. Now this is where we can incorporate the hi-hat syncopation in with the syncopation on the snare drum. Talk about the bass drum. One of my favorite things to do with the bass drum is just 1 and 3 and. This is a really good one because even though it's simple, it keeps the foundation incredibly solid. Another one I really like to do is the pickup. The of 4 into 1. So a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1. And that looks like this. So those are some basic applications of funk drumming based around a really simple groove. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'm Russ from TakeLessons.com. Have a great day and happy drumming.